The scene blurred with streaks of light tearing through space. In this damned world, I lived a truly miserable life. Daeon appeared, his face a mask of panic and despair. The weak can't have their own wealth or status. The abyss was like a monster's mouth devouring everything around it, and it's why I'm slowly dying, because I'm just too weak. The point of impact flared like a fateful crack in reality. About 100 years ago, a terrifying, blinding light descended upon the Earth. That ray of light exploded violently when it hit the planet. The beam began to devour every living thing. White light tore through the darkness. The small blue planet had once been the cradle of all life. Life was devoured in an instant, and soon it all became a giant desert. The city sank into a desolate landscape. The few survivors could do nothing but build their own fortresses. His expression was a mix of complex emotions. If you're going to destroy everything, why not just wipe it all out completely? Why let these insects continue to survive? Daeon was immediately knocked backward by a powerful impact. The thug's lips curled into a provocative smirk. Whoops, my hand just slipped a little. He kept his nonchalant expression. Sorry about that. I'm truly sorry. Give me your name so I know who to apologize to. His expression was complicated, Daeon. The thug burst out laughing. Just one name. Don't tell me you've only got one dad. Daeon's eyes darkened as the man continued to mock him. Look at this kid's sulking face. The guys who get on this bus to the mines all have one thing in common. The thug eagerly approached and clapped him on the shoulder. Relax, kid. We're all in the same boat, so we should get along right. So, what crime did you get nabbed for? Daeon was lost in thought for a moment. No one here was actually a miner. They were either criminals or wanted fugitives, definitely one of the two. A mocking voice rang out, assault, fraud, or maybe theft. As quick as a flash, Daeon threw a counterpunch. The thug was painfully knocked backward. He clenched his fists, looking furious. Dead wrong, you idiot. You really want to know. Daeon's eyes were filled with intense killing intent. I'm in for murder. He was lost in thought for a moment. To be precise, I didn't murder anyone because in this place, Neo Cube only the strong are considered human. Daeon's expression was a mix of complicated emotions. It was no big deal. What's the problem with adding one more piece of trash to the dump? It was just a little mouse who tried to steal from me, so he got what was coming to him. Damn it! I didn't know he was someone else's pet mouse. Lygerion's younger brother spoke in a provocative tone. Do you have any idea who my older brother is? It's Lygerion. You're dead. This idiot, his face changed in terror. Lygerion? An intense killing intent immediately filled the space. If the strong are considered human, then the awakened are the gods who stand above all. A chill of panic ran down Daeon's spine. A sewer rat like me was foolish enough to offend a god. Rumors that Lygerion was hunting for me spread everywhere, so I scrambled onto this bus heading for the mines immediately. He suddenly froze for a moment. The thug was unfazed by the powerful punch. Are you done talking yet? Daeon was still in shock. What was that? Why does my head hurt so much? It can't be. In that moment, he let his guard down. He was slammed backward onto the ground. Daeon's face twisted in pain. The man slowly cracked his knuckles. Why didn't you say so sooner? I'm here for the exact same reason. I might have treated you like a little brother, but you went and crossed the line. He seemed to lose his composure out of pure rage. Damn it, you bastard! Are you messing with me? I had to run for my life to escape an awakened one, do you understand? Do you have any idea what I went through to drag myself here? Damn it, why here of all places? Why? His lackeys chimed in provocatively. Looks like the boss needs to teach you a lesson. A powerful killing intent erupted from the thug. Everyone here agrees, right? Daeon was filled with resentment. He's an awakened one. Even in this hellhole, I had to run into an awakened one. He charged decisively into the middle of the encirclement. The vehicle was hit by something and shook violently. The man's voice dropped to a threatening tone. Damn it, what was that? Hey driver, do you even know how to drive? The sight of his back looked heavy with helplessness. He clutched his wound and angrily demanded, What the hell is that guy muttering about? His face suddenly changed in terror. He froze for a moment, then stammered, That's not it. I told you that's not it. We're not going to the mines. His eyes were bloodshot and frenzied. What are you rambling about? Sweat dripped down his face. We're in an abyss like the mouth of a monster. It swallows everything around it. We've been swallowed. Everyone immediately stumbled, losing their balance. Looking back, it's always the same thing, over and over. Zion was also struggling as his body was about to be submerged. I've sunk into bottomless pits of helplessness before, whether in Neo Soul or when I faced an awakened one. Even getting eaten by a worm was nothing special. Right now, Zion was still fighting for his life, because in this trash world, being plundered by the strong is just how things are. His eyes were bloodshot. Zion's vision started to blur. So if I die here, it's only because I'm too weak. Darkness seemed to close in such a mundane and predictable end, it's almost boring. Of course, I've always dreamed of a future where I'm a little stronger, so I wouldn't have to die so miserably, but those are just meaningless fantasies now. A determined hand rose from the sea of sand. The ground was still trembling slowly. The finger was broken, but still held strong. The sandpit continued to swirl like a hurricane. His eyes shot open in astonishment. Zion had powerfully escaped being submerged by the quicksand. He clutched his shirt as tears streamed down. Zion's entire body was racked with excruciating pain. Shattered statues appeared all around. His eyes were bloodshot with horror. The tall tower was also starting to topple. The entire city was sinking into the sandstorm. Zion suddenly froze, rooted to the spot. The sturdy structures were gradually decaying. His face showed a mix of complex emotions. A collision flashed like a crack in fate. Zion's eyes seemed to contain an entire galaxy. His whole body was covered in a powerful inner energy. The sand exploded. A beam of light pierced through, creating a large hole. Slimy fluid dripped down slowly. I must survive. Zion's expression was a mixture of complex emotions in this cursed world of nothing but sand. He stood up straight, his posture resilient. I swear it. A glint appeared in Zion's eyes. He faced the monster with a frenzied look. I will survive no matter what. Zion's expression was complicated. This pain, I can feel it so clearly. He seemed to feel a change in his body. Every cell in my body is screaming, this is my awakening. Zion stood proudly before the ferocious monster. It lunged at him frantically, baring its sharp teeth. Zion remained calm, his gaze unwavering. That's right, bring it on. Yongbei suddenly appeared, pushing him back. For a test subject, you're just getting in the way. Zion's eyes widened in horror. A force sent him flying backward. A moment later, Zion slammed hard onto the ground. He struggled to sit up and grumbled, "What the hell? Who is that guy? When did he get so close?" A chill ran down Zion's spine in terror. Too close. The stench of blood immediately filled the air. Damn it! What is he made of that he won't go down? He stood proudly and declared, afraid of heights, "Then let me help you down to the ground." Yongbei raised his foot towards the sword and brought it down. First floor coming up. The giant monster quickly collapsed to the ground. His expression changed instantly as he witnessed it firsthand. What is this? Zion was lost in thought for a moment. Did he just take down a sandworm in the blink of an eye? He let out a soft sigh. This feeling still hasn't faded, so this is what awakening is. His face was a mix of complex emotions. I've never seen an awakened person like that before. Giselle enthusiastically introduced him. Yang Yong Bong, that's our team leader. He paused, bewildered. What? She smiled excitedly. See, that's why he gets to be the team leader. Was that the fastest he's ever taken down an opponent? Daeon was immediately on guard. When did he even make a move? He was horrified as his arm felt like it was plunged into ice. He's much stronger than he looks. Wait a minute, his arm is freezing cold. Yong Bong's voice was low and powerful. Sandworms aren't that hard to deal with. And hey, Yuseo. Yuseo replied enthusiastically. Yes, sir. His eyes showed a mix of complex emotions. Yong Bong sighed as he watched the argument unfold. For goodness sake, damn it. She smiled enthusiastically, a look of interest in her eyes. Yuseo decisively dragged him away. Then she immediately wrestled Sion to the ground to restrain him. Giselle watched intently with excitement. All right, let's see what this guy's rank and abilities are. Time to check getting excited. She suddenly froze, her eyes filled with doubt. Yuseo's voice was heavy. Team leader. This guy isn't an awakened. She trembled as she resisted. What do you mean? That's impossible. She remained calm. Look. Sion's frustrated shout echoed. Are you crazy? Hurry up. Giselle then declared clearly, he doesn't have a ranking emblem. His gaze dropped in indignation. No emblem at all. I've obviously awakened, right? Why don't I have one? The driver immediately raised his voice in an urgent warning. Don't just stand there gawking. Move it. I said the sun is about to set. Pick up the pace. Her eyes flickered for a moment before she spoke heavily. Team leader, what should we do with him now? If we just leave him, he'll definitely die. Sion frowned in displeasure. You nearly broke the guy's arm. Yongbong's face showed a mix of complex emotions. He also watched intently without flinching. He waved his hand nonchalantly and announced, "Throw him on the vehicle." He was heading towards the mining area anyway. Giselle became excited. "Yes, sir." The armored vehicle moved quickly across the desert. His voice became stern with warning. "Why do you always rush in alone? I told you not to make things more complicated. Don't split from the group on your own, and don't pretend you can't hear me." Zion lay quietly amidst the heated argument. "How far is it to the mining area? Don't try to change the subject. What if the sun sets? We'd be dead." He suddenly paused as the sand shifted. "It always does this." Zion remained nonchalant. He sat up decisively and affirmed to himself, "The sand is moving according to my will. I've definitely awakened something." Seon's eyes showed doubt and unease. "But why can't they see my ranking emblem? Come to think of it, the color is a bit strange. Is it orange? No." He stared intently at the emblem on his arm. It was the same color as the sand. Seon's face was a mix of complex emotions. The light of the emblem reflects the class of the awakened. Yuseo laughed heartily with excitement. "The magic class glows blue." Yongbong's expression changed as he grew cautious. "The combat class glows red." His hand slowly touched the sand, although there are some rare cases with other classes. Sion's eyes focused on controlling his actions, "But I've never even heard of the power to control sand." His expression relaxed with satisfaction. "The system shows the lowest rank F rank, but I can feel that this power has infinite potential, just like the desert itself." A corner of Sion's mouth curled up in excitement. He remained focused on his control ability. "I'll wait until I can master it completely. Until that day, I'll hide it and be patient." Sion's expression twisted into a crazed look. "This entire desert, this whole world will be my stage." The scene changes as dusk falls. He observed meticulously. "So this is a mana stone mine. There's even a checkpoint. It looks pretty normal." The guide's voice was low and threatening. "Hey, you follow me." Sion spoke up helplessly. "You still haven't untied me." The man gritted his teeth. "Say another word and I'll shut your mouth myself." He immediately lowered his voice urgently. All right, I get it." His eyes were filled with suspicion. Something wasn't right. She still looked so calm. Was it because he was the only survivor? No, don't overthink it. It was probably just luck. A complex mix of emotions crossed Yongbyom's face. No, it wasn't luck. He stammered, "What the hell is that?" A mysterious pit had suddenly appeared. "That pit is—" Yongbyom walked away slowly, a look of doubt on his face. "I should have asked for his name. I have a feeling I'll meet him again someday." The streets were bustling with people coming and going, laughing as they walked. The shops here were also packed with customers. Zion glanced around with a completely calm expression. "I thought a mine was just a tunnel, but this place has everything. Looks like people really live here." The guide, holding a gun, angrily untied him. "Be quiet, shut your mouth, and wait there until the manager comes." Seeing his furious attitude, Zion asked casually, "You're just leaving me here." The guide yelled, pointing straight at his face. "What, you want me to put a bullet in your head before I go?" Zion stood there with a blank expression. "No. I mean, what if I do something while I'm here?" The man turned and walked away in disgust. "Do whatever the hell you want. What can a piece of trash like you accomplish anyway?" Zion's eyes darted around, observing his surroundings. "What an idiot. Well, I'm hungry, so I might as well look around. Wonder if there's a place to eat nearby." He then walked up to a nearby old man. "Excuse me, can I ask you something?" As soon as he spoke, his eyes widened in shock. On the wall was a poster with a motto, "Let our labor light up Neo's soul." Noticing Zion staring at it, the man spoke up. "What do you think, a wonderful motto, isn't it?" The man's rough hands clenched into fists. "It's so true, it's laughable." "That's right. Isn't Neo's soul's energy source supposed to be mana crystals?" Zion sat down, resting his chin on his hand in thought. "What do you mean? If it's not mana, then what other energy source could there be?" The man pointed directly at him. "It's people." The man Kessie gave a sly, suggestive smile. "It's the little rats just like you. Just follow orders, and when we run short, we just add more. Isn't that the most perfect source of energy?" Zion calmly ate his grilled skewer, mumbling as he chewed. "You sure talk a lot for someone I just met. Most people your age are already 6 feet under." The old man laughed and replied nonchalantly, "At my age, everything is interesting." Kessie then rested his chin on his hands, looking at Zion thoughtfully. "So, what's it like inside a sandworm's belly? Does it feel like being back in the womb?" He froze, his eyes wide with shock. How did that rumor spread so fast? Kessie tilted his head back and roared with laughter. You clueless kid, I can tell you'll be nothing but sandworm crap soon enough. This place isn't some shelter for you to hide in. Zion looked up from his meat, confused. Shelter, I came here to earn money. The old man suddenly stopped laughing and pointed behind himself. Bullshit, let me show you something interesting. Look over there. In the distance were shelves stacked with old tattered and rotting boxes. Seeing it, Zion gave the old man a skeptical look. Are you senile? You call that pile of junk interesting? What is all that? Kessie rested his chin on his hand and smiled proudly. That's my collection gathered little by little over time. His eyes flickered towards him with hidden meaning. The final end for those who come here, and your future as well. Kessie paused to remember, then spoke quietly. When people first get here, they all resist going into the mine. You know what I'm talking about, right? That's just the kind of place the Mana Crystal Mine is. They're so afraid of dying inside that they sell everything they can to get by, even selling themselves for cheap. But they're only delaying the inevitable. Nothing gets solved, and the little they have left slowly vanishes. In the end, everyone comes to the same conclusion. They tell themselves it would be easier to just let the mine swallow them whole. The old man paused, his face turning grim. They say when a person dies, they leave their name behind, but when trash dies, it only leaves behind more trash. Zion suddenly frowned, looking intrigued. Seeing this, Kessie pressed him. I'm looking forward to seeing what you'll leave behind. He jumped to his feet and asked bluntly, Forget it, how much? The old man laughed excitedly and named his price, 10 sun. Zion slammed his hand on the table, his eyes wide with disbelief. Are you crazy? Is this meat gilded in gold? Kessie simply smiled philosophically. Everything is precious here. Even that skewer you just tossed aside is worth 9 sun. Hearing that, a sarcastic smirk appeared on his lips. What kind of cheap meat are you using to charge a price like that? Sorry, but I don't have that kind of money. The surrounding men suddenly got to their feet, weapons in hand. Zion stood his ground, still smirking. You must think you can rip me off just because I'm new here. Huh, are you out of your mind, 10 son? Everyone from the cook to the common folk had a makeshift weapon in their hands. Zion stood there smiling as he said in a low voice, Sorry, but there's no way I'm paying. You can deal with it yourself. It was then he noticed the crowd behind him, and a cold sweat trickled down his neck. Zion summoned all his courage and turned his head to look. The sight froze him in place. Kessie saw his reaction and laughed mockingly. Doesn't it seem strange to you how an old man like me can run a business so peacefully right here in the mining district? Right behind him was pitch darkness, but he could clearly see eyes gleaming like the points of sharp knives. Kessie smiled, clearly in control of the situation. So what are you going to do now? Trapped in such a ridiculous way, Zion slammed his hand on the table in anger. He shouted back at the old man, Calm down, old man. Where am I supposed to get that kind of money? 10 sun for this meat is an absolute ripoff. Hold on, let's talk about this. But Cressy just smirked and replied softly, Short on cash. Don't worry, I'm not that heartless. We can trade for something else. As he finished, the old man noticed the stone in Zion's pocket. That's right. The mana crystal in your pocket should be enough. His eyes paused for a moment as he thought to himself, Are there already rumors about that? Cressy smiled and ordered handed over. I'll buy it for a very fair price. Zion remained firm and resolute. Cut the crap. Do you have any idea what I did to protect it? Just then, a large hand grabbed his head. Sir, is there no other way? Or maybe you can let me pay you back later. With that, the man forcefully slammed his head down on the table with all his might. The man looked at Cressy for his opinion. Boss, how long are you going to listen to his whining? Let's just bury this brat alive. As soon as he finished speaking, the man's hand suddenly flew into the air, his mouth still running. After coming to his senses, the man felt a blade lightly graze his muscular arm. A piece of that arm fell off, startling everyone around. The sword mark was made by Zion in his anger. His eyes now burned full of resentment. However, it was only a dream. The mocking voices of the people around him still echoed in his ears. The man gripped his head and pushed it forward. Look here. He even frowned and asked, Are you all right? You've been spacing out for a while. Are you dreaming? Zion bitterly realized it was all a fantasy. Damn it. Zion looking angry threw the stone towards Cressy. Seeing the old man pick it up, Zion gritted his teeth in anger. This was the magic stone he had risked his life to keep. Cressy picked up the stone and examined it with a thoughtful expression this size. The old man thought for a moment before naming a price. At a glance, it looks like it's about 100 sun. Hearing that price, Zion slammed the table in anger. Are you serious? It has to be worth at least 300 sun. Why are you saying 100? Cressy calmly replied, everything is scarce here. Maybe you'd be better off selling it as sandworm dung. Zion angrily slammed the table hard. His hand trembled, veins bulging. These bastards. If I wanted, I could easily take this old man down, but not now. Not yet. After a moment, Zion looked up and gave a sinister smile. Give me a little extra change, old man. The people standing by scoffed at his attitude, but Cressy, as if his wish had been granted, nodded. All right. Keep it safe. This area is full of pickpockets and robbers. I can see one right in front of me now. The old man pointed behind him to where the old tattered crates were stored. As a bonus for our first transaction, I'll throw in one extra item. Just pick one from that pile. Looking around at the items, he stated firmly, I'll give you whatever you take. Zion started rummaging through the rubble. Seriously, I thought there might be something good, but it's all just junk. There's nothing decent to choose from. Cressy quietly watched his movements. This kid is interesting. That attitude of rather dying than taking a loss, it's been a long time since I've seen a kid with such resilience. Zion paused while searching. Isn't there anything better? What's this? The old man came closer to look and explained that a merchant caravan left it behind. I probably won't find anything better than this. Zion picked it up, looked it over, and decided I'll take this. After hearing this, Cressy spoke in a teasing tone. You always have an interest in strange and useless things. He nodded deliberately, ignoring him. Yeah, I know. After walking a few steps, he suddenly stopped. Hey, what's your name, old man? The old man called out from behind him, Cressy. Zion looked back and smirked. Old man Cressy, it'd be best if we never see each other again. The old man chuckled and turned to leave. Who knows, kid? Meanwhile, the hourglass continued its race against time. Zion looked down at the fine sand with a curious expression. About 10 minutes left until it's all gone. In the miner's residential area, Zion plopped down on the floor and took out a device. All right, let's begin. Inhale. He sat and breathed seriously as if trying to relax his mind. Exhale, inhale. After a moment, he gently opened his eyes. Exhale. Zion focused all the power he had just absorbed onto the nearby hourglass. Move. Zion's serious face was suddenly reflected on the hourglass. As soon as he saw that, he angrily shoved it into his pocket. So it has nothing to do with my awakening. After calming down, Zion mused to himself that he was sure this was the first time he had ever seen it. He stared at the hourglass, lost in thought, but something felt very strange, as if it had been prepared just for him. It was familiar, as if it was calling to him, but also brand new. What was this feeling? Just then, a man named Park Man-ho kicked the door open and stormed in. You're the new guy who just got here today, right? He pointed right in his face and yelled, Hey, you damn mutt! Why haven't you dragged your ass to the ore mine yet? I'm Park Man. Ho, are you making me come all the way here to drag you there myself? He frowned and answered bluntly, I'm not a mutt. I'm Dion. You never told me where to go in the first place. As soon as he finished speaking, Dion was sent flying by a powerful punch from Man-ho. Man-ho's hand clenched into a fist. You bastard! He rushed forward and yelled, Shut that filthy mouth of yours! Man-ho kept punching and cursing. How dare you talk back to me? You think I'm some kind of pushover? Dion tried to block the blows with his hands, enduring the man's curses. A useless piece of trash like you who couldn't even awaken dares to run your mouth. You bastard scum, like you should just shut up and take the beating. A moment later, Man-ho stopped punching and ordered loudly, All right, that's enough, hurry up and follow me. Dion slowly sat up, clutching his aching body as he watched Man-ho's retreating back. He mustered all his courage and dared to speak. What a shitty personality you have, Park Man-ho. I'll remember that name. You are a man I will definitely kill. Over here, at the entrance to Mine Area 3. The miners saw him arrive and politely greeted Mr. Park Man-ho. He glanced past them and ordered, Give this guy his equipment now. Yes, sir. A miner helped Dion get dressed. Man-ho walked ahead and laid out the rules. Equipment rental and food costs will be deducted directly from your wages. Just focus on digging up magic stones and bringing them back. Got it. Answer me. Hearing this, he was a little surprised. Is that all? How much are the wages? Dion scratched his head and looked at him blankly. I need to be clear about this first. The moment he finished speaking, Man-ho grabbed a nearby pickaxe and slammed it against his helmet. He yelled and cursed nonstop. You haven't even picked up a pickaxe, and you're already asking about wages. The cost of the helmet is getting deducted too. You remember that, you bastard. Dion lowered his head, cursing under his breath. Damn it. Then Manhwa ordered in a low voice, throw this guy into tunnel number 972. Seeing this, a miner tried to intervene, but tunnel 972 still has. Seeing him speak up for Dion, Manhwa shouted threateningly, or do you want to go in his place? Do you answer me now? Let's go you. The miner fell silent, not daring to argue. Understood. Let's go. As the miner led him away, he whispered a warning. Don't even dream of crawling out of there until you've mined some magic stones. I will actually kill you. Dion stubbornly ignored him. Yeah, whatever. From behind, Manhwa's low voice replied, I can still hear you, you little punk. A while later, the miner led Dayon deep into the tunnel. Just his luck. He showed up on the very day Park Manhwa lost all his money gambling. While walking, he stopped in his tracks, shocked. There's a casino here too. The miner nodded and added, of course. From prostitution and booze to even drugs, it's no different from the city of Neo Seoul. He looked up and wondered aloud, with idiots like Park Manhwa around business, here must be booming, huh? This made the miner laugh unconsciously. You've got a sharp tongue, kid. Dayon just stood there wondering aimlessly. Do I really have to go mining? I have really sensitive skin, it bruises so easily. The miner's hands trembled as he gripped the iron railing. Are you sure you won't get hurt? Suddenly the man lowered his head, his face grim. No one has ever been injured in there, not a single person. Dayon remained calm and looked ahead. We're here. As he stepped inside, he couldn't help but be surprised. So this is tunnel number 972. Dayon slung the pickaxe over his shoulder and walked quietly inside. I just need to go in and mine some magic stones, right? I'll be right back. You're not coming back. Then the man quietly told him something. Over a dozen people have gone missing in there. I personally knew 4 of them. No one knows if they're alive or dead or why it happened. He left him down there alone and quietly walked away. I'm very sorry and thank you. His eyes widened as he stared into the distance, looking soulless because he had agreed to enter a place no one else dared to go. It dawned on him in shock. He stood there and yelled up, wait a minute, does that mean they're all dead? Where are you going? Are you just going to leave me here alone, hey? There was no reply. Dayon stood there dumbfounded with a look of disappointment. You really left seriously. He picked up his tools and started digging. These damn bastards. Just because he was in a bad mood, is that why you threw me into this dump? Suddenly, his tool flew up and hit him in the face. All of you can just rot and die. The pickaxe suddenly started moving, and Dayon hurriedly chased after it. My pickaxe, come back here. Whether by accident or on purpose, he wandered into another dark area. What the hell is this? Standing in the middle of a vast space, he observed quietly. I was too angry before to notice, but this place is overflowing with mana. Is it because they were normal people that they couldn't feel it? He took off his helmet and covered his nose and mouth with his hand. The deeper I go, the denser the mana becomes. A normal person would have been overloaded by mana by now. I wonder where all this mana is coming from. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in front of him. As he got closer, he jumped for joy. I found it. There's my pickaxe. Just as Dayon excitedly stepped forward, the ground suddenly gave way inexplicably. The handle is broken, but at least I got it back. Suddenly, a black hole appeared right below him. Dayon hadn't noticed yet and was still cheerful. Looks like I'm still in luck. The moment he finished speaking, his eyes widened as he looked down at the hole. An unseen force pulled him down, making him struggle to break free. Wait, what is this? Don't tell me this is a gate. That was pretty much the end of him. In no time, Dayon had vanished, leaving only his hard hat and pickaxe scattered on the ground. Suddenly, the light from the hard hat's headlamp shone on the pickaxe, which was broken in two. A distant memory suddenly flooded back. Dayon stood alone in the rain, a toy in his hand. His own parents abandoned him. So what else could you expect? I just hope he doesn't drop dead right on my doorstep. What kind of life did I even want for myself back then? Starving in the pouring rain, Dayon stole some food and was immediately chased and beaten. You want to die? You've got some nerve stealing our food. I just didn't want to starve. As he got older, he even stole gemstones, causing staff and everyone else to chase after him. Get that little brat. I wanted to have dreams of my own too. All around him were deafening curses. Do you have any idea who you just killed? Let's see you try to run. Now your worthless life ends here. You dog. Whether I was frozen in fear or trying to run away. I don't care what condition he's in, just keep him breathing. Even if you have to break his legs, you have to catch him. A life where I didn't have to fear death every single day. Back then, Daeon had to endure endless insults and curses every day. Drag that bastard to Lidiri for me, something like that. Just a normal life. After a moment of drifting, Zion was pulled into a strange deserted place. He slowly woke up, his hand rushing to his head. My head hurts so much. What the hell? Why is it so hot in here? He curiously reached out to touch the ground below and was horrified to realize, is this ash? Zion froze. Sweat poured down like a river as he unconsciously looked up. And then he realized, I'm screwed. That's right. If I fell into a gate, it makes sense that I'd be surrounded by a sea of fire. Fear welled up inside him. Is this the inside of a dungeon? Just then, something fell right in front of Zion. With a look of defiance, he bit his lip and tightly gripped the piece of rock in his hand. Then Zion swung his arm and threw the rock while screaming in anger, "It's too hot, damn it!" Next, with sweat pouring down, he gently blew on his palm. Damn it, so this isn't a dream. A dungeon that even Neo's soul has to muster all its resources to deal with. Zion looked at the marks on his palm and muttered to himself, this is definitely volcanic ash, isn't it? It feels like sand that's been baked in a fire. If I don't get out of here fast, my lungs are going to get cooked. Next, he knelt down and tore off the leg of his pants. And then Zion used it as a makeshift mask and tied it on. All right, if there's an entrance to the dungeon, there must be an exit. The most likely location is the highest peak in this dungeon near the summit. He looked at the erupting volcano before him, sweating as he thought to himself, either way, if I just stand here, I'll die from the heat and this ash. Right now is the best time since there are no mana beasts in sight. I'll take the shortest route at the fastest speed possible. With that thought, Zion immediately started running. Zion had a determined look as he affirmed, that's right, I'm Zion, a guy who never knows the meaning of the word quit. He then nimbly leaped up the cliff face and breathed a sigh of relief. That was a close one. But when Zion saw the spot where he was standing start to crack, he cursed angrily. Damn it! Drenched in sweat, he reached forward desperately. Please, please! The rock fragments fell into the molten lava, but Zion was luckier, managing to grab onto a nearby cliff edge. He used his hands to hold himself up while screaming, "This damn lava doesn't scare me one bit." With all his might, Zion managed to pull himself from the jaws of death. He panted heavily, unable to stop. Next, he angrily clenched his hand into a fist. And then Zion scowled and yelled, "Park man, ho, you bastard, if I get out of here, you're a dead man." After screaming his lungs out, he calmed down. Getting angry just makes it hotter, damn it. Zion clenched his fist with determination, a stream of thoughts flowing through his mind. I have to survive this no matter what. I'll struggle with everything I have to make it back. Just 4 more times. It seemed Zion was now filled with immense determination. He looked at the terrain ahead and thought to himself, I just need to make 4 more jumps and I'll be there. Don't stop, just keep moving. Don't overthink it. My life can't end in a dump like this. I will absolutely never give up. Never. With all his courage, Zion leaped forward. But what awaited him was the giant mouth of a creature emerging from the hot lava below. Like an irresistible piece of bait, Zion was swallowed whole by the creature. After successfully snatching its tasty meal, it dove back down into the lava. Before me are fireballs bubbling from the intense heat. A giant crocodile appears moving across the surface of a lava flow. At the same time, a gentle stream of energy emerges from the monster's body. Zion's sweat pouring down was hanging with his hand pointed straight down. This is crazy, why is it so hot? Even the volcanic ash is melting. Then he thought to himself, I had a faint idea, but it turns out I can actually control volcanic ash too. That's what saved my life, but still. Zion falls hard onto the body of the giant crocodile in pain. Lying on its rough skin, he wearily thought, isn't this way too hot? The environment in this dungeon is more vicious than the demonic beasts themselves. My nose feels like it's being scorched by this heat and ash. I can't breathe anymore, my consciousness is fading. Zion lay face down on the ground, murmuring softly, Am I dying? Suddenly, he clenched his fist. Then Zion struggled to get back on his feet. It hasn't even been a minute since I swore I'd survive, and I haven't even gotten a girlfriend yet. I refuse to die like this. He stomped his foot hard on the ground. As Zion used his skill, he squinted and thought, Sorry, Lord of the Underworld, but you'll have to take this crocodile skin bag instead of me. The giant crocodile's pained shriek echoed through the air. He glared and roared with fury. Suddenly, a deep voice rang out, "You possess a rather interesting ability." Hearing this, Zion was startled and looked around. What that voice is, that the Lord of the Underworld. The owner of the voice exclaimed with amusement, "A sand user, how interesting." But Zion immediately yelled, "Like hell I am." A figure was seen hurtling from the sky straight toward the giant crocodile. An old man with a smile on his face appeared. At that moment he spoke. That old man, as he falling Diodon with an excited expression, was plummeting like an arrow. Diodon gripped the hilt of his sword tightly. Zion watched this, his eyes wide as he thought, "He's coming." Like an arrow, Diodon plunged straight into the giant crocodile's head, sending rock and debris flying. The pressure sent Zion's body flying as well. A loud noise like a world-shaking explosion erupted. A few pieces of rubble were thrown into the hot lava flow. He hid behind a rock trying to keep from being blown away. A piercing scream echoed through the area. Zion, with a bewildered look, covered one of his ears. "What just happened? I can't hear anything anymore." A shockwave this powerful, did it rupture my eardrum? Who is that old man anyway? Suddenly, as if realizing something, he looked up. Wait, that's the old man from before. But first, where did the monster go? Before Zion's eyes was the impressive figure of Diodon standing before the giant crocodile. Looking at this scene, Zion trembled and thought to himself, "He's on a completely different level, totally out of my league. This isn't just the level of a strong, awakened being. He's truly a being on a completely different plane." At the same time, the image of a foot stepping forward appeared. Instantly, the ground beneath it crumbled. His voice rang out at the same time, "What is that?" While Zion was still staring wide-eyed, Diodon asked in a deep voice, "I'm asking for your name." Then he warned, "I'll give you 3 seconds to answer." Next, Diodon began the countdown 3. The footsteps continued to draw closer. Zion remained seated, staring wide-eyed at him. He appeared in front of him and announced time's up. Next, Diodon reached back and gripped the hilt of his weapon. "If you're not going to open your mouth." Meanwhile, Zion was startled, thinking, "I can hear again." His pupils flashed red as he said in a low voice, "Die." Zion finally realized the situation and hurriedly screamed, "Wait! Hold on, stop! I don't know what's going on, but please spare my life." Hearing that, Diodon realized with surprise, "So you're not mute after all." Then he repeated, "I asked you for your name." He immediately answered, "Zion. My name is Zion." After hearing this, Diodon turned away and scoffed, "Zion? What a silly name." Zion scowled and pouted. "Silly? I wonder what kind of great name this old man has to be criticizing others." Suddenly, he thrust his sword hard into the ground, creating a sound that echoed throughout the space. Zion was so scared he squeezed his eyes shut, while Diodon calmly spoke, "Diodon. My name is Diodon." Still in shock, Zion frowned and questioned him, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" He calmly asked back, "What am I doing?" Zion shouted in anger, "You keep calling me an idiot, so why do you insist on threatening me like this? I'm grateful you saved my life, but I haven't done anything wrong." Diodon cut him off before he could finish. "Hey, you moron. From what I can tell, you've fallen into a trap." Though displeased, Zion was curious about his actions. "He's completely ignoring me. What is that thing?" Diodon didn't hide it and explained, "That's a phenomenon that occurs when a dungeon's mana overloads. The dungeon creates another entrance to protect itself and expels the excess mana through that rift. At the same time, it also drags living creatures inside. That's what's called a trap." Then he cheerfully gave a thumbs up. "A normal person will never see one in their entire life. You're just that unlucky kid." Being told that to his face, Zion frowned and cursed inwardly. "Damn it, Parkman Ho, you bastard." At that moment, Diodon spoke. "Hey, you idiot." Zion turned angrily. "I told you to stop calling me an idiot." Ignoring him, he turned Zion's head to the side. "Let me show you why you're a fool." Zion exclaimed in confusion, "What?" He then smirked and suggested, "Now channel mana into your eyes and focus." Zion asked suspiciously, "What are you planning to do?" Diodon didn't explain, simply ordering him, "Shut up and do as I say, increase the purity of your mana." Imagine seeing with mana instead of your physical eyes and feel its flow. A completely different scene appeared reflected in Zion's pupils. The moment he saw it, sweat poured down his face. "What the hell is that?" From behind him, Diodon spoke gravely, "It seems you can finally see it. It's a monster that can turn invisible. Unsuspecting prey gets devoured without ever knowing why they died, just like you would have." Zion's face turned pale as he thought to himself, "Something like that was right beside me, and I didn't sense its presence or any danger at all." If this old man hadn't helped me, I really would have died without knowing what happened. Having been saved twice, he still shot a reluctant glance at him. Zion looked at Diodon and wondered, this man, just how strong is he exactly? He then asked cautiously, "Who exactly are you?" Hearing this, he turned back and cursed, "Are you really that stupid? I already told you I'm Diodon, you brat." Sweating, Zion glared and yelled, "That's not what I meant. Who are you to have such incredible power, and what the hell is this place?" Diodon answered nonchalantly, "We're in a dungeon, and it's now my hunting ground." Zion exclaimed in surprise, "A hunting ground?" Diodon nodded. "That's right, a hunting ground, and you want to know who I am." Then he tilted his head back with a provocative look. "Then use those eyes of yours and see for yourself." Suddenly, the space around them started to shake violently. The volcano felt like it was about to erupt at any moment. Zion covered his ears and asked through gritted teeth, "What is this?" Then he looked up with a dazed expression. "What the hell is that old man doing?" Seeing the sight above him, Zion frowned and yelled, "What in the world is happening?" At that moment, Diodon's voice rang out, "Hey, moron!" He grinned with an excited expression. "If you have any worth, then find a way to survive on your own." The moment he saw Diodon send a pile of lava rocks falling down on him, Zion screamed, "You crazy old man!" Then Zion gritted his teeth. "These bastards, how are they so damn fast?" At the same time, something flew past and grazed his arm. It didn't stop continuing on to graze his heel. Clutching his injured arm, Zion frowned and thought, "Damn it, these monsters are too fast. No matter how much I run, I can't shake them, but why do they only aim for my left side?" Next, using all his strength, he pointed his index finger forward and unleashed an attack. But Zion's opponents were no pushovers and immediately counterattacked. Hit by the barrage of attacks, he immediately put his arms up to shield his face. Sweat pouring down, Zion grimaced to himself. "Damn it, I can't keep up even with my sand and my mystic eyes. Damn it, what should I do now? At this rate, I'm finished. That old man saved me twice already. If I die here, I really will be a complete idiot." Suddenly, a voice rang out, "Hey, aren't you going to answer?" With a confused look, Zion wondered, what was that? Diodon pointed at Zion's face, frowning as he cursed, "This brat." Zion wondered in confusion, what is he rambling about? Diodon asked impatiently, "Are you mute?" Zion thought his ears must be failing him, since he couldn't hear properly. And so he steeled his resolve. "I have to find a way to see an enemy that my naked eye can't keep up with." Clutching his head, Zion urged himself on. "Think I have to think of something, you idiot." Right then, a thought surfaced that startled him for a moment. "Let me show you exactly why you're so foolish. Focus the mana into your eyes and concentrate raising the purity of the mana. Don't see with your eyes anymore, see with the mana itself." With amber glowing in his pupils, Zion murmured, "Feel the mana." Suddenly, the image of a creature with red eyes lunging at him appeared before him. Zion wasn't afraid, and instead decisively tore it apart. He frowned, reminding himself, "Feel the magic radiating from those monsters, see with mana, not with my eyes." When you sense their mana approaching, launch a counterattack at the closest possible distance. Then he glanced back, a thought crossing his mind. That old man, there's no way. Did he really predict things this far ahead? Zion asked aloud while using his ability, "Just what are you, you old geezer?" Diodon sliced through a monster and exclaimed with excitement, "This is fun, so thrilling! It's been a long time since I've felt my blood boil like this." Hot lava splashed everywhere, and at the same time, a colossal sound echoed through the space. He didn't seem to have any intention of stopping glaring with a grin. "More, give me more." And then Diodon landed a powerful strike, cutting the giant crocodile in half. Before Diodon's attack, the beast collapsed right in front of him. Diodon arrogantly turned his back and walked away. What a real shame. Finally, he swung his sword to end its life. Afterward, Diodon walked away quietly. Such a pity, I was just getting warmed up. Why are there so few monsters in the dungeons these days? Zion panted, his eyes wide with amazement. "That's horrifying. I'm starting to feel sorry for the monsters now." He could only stand there frozen as the old man flawlessly finished off all those giant monsters. "I'm speechless. I really don't know what to say." Zion suddenly let out a hearty laugh. "But hey, it seems like there are no more monsters, right?" Unexpectedly, a tremor immediately wiped the smile off his face. Damn it! An immense surge of power was unleashed into the air. The earthquake shook the ground, causing Zion to lose his balance. He collapsed nauseous, throwing up everything inside him. Wiping his mouth, Zion asked curiously, "What the hell was that sound?" "What now?" Diodon's face hardened coldly. "That's the roar of the final boss." He spoke up in surprise. "The final boss," the old man explained in a low voice. "Every dungeon has a boss, the source of the entire area, the strongest in the dungeon." Diodon observed the thing gradually appearing in the darkness. "And that is precisely the reason I'm here." Zion's eyes widened, unable to hide his astonishment. "The final boss, that pressure is—" The corner of his mouth curved into a smile. It finally decided to show its face. Before Diodon, a giant beast flew out from the surge of power, a red rake. Zion's smile vanished, his eyes fixed on it. "A red rake, isn't that the boss?" In contrast, the old man couldn't hide his excitement. "Unfortunately, no, but it's at least a B rank." His voice started to stutter. "At least B rank? Then that means—" A massive, ferocious figure appeared before Zion. "That's a domain." Hearing that, Diodon patted his head in praise. "A brat like you knows about domains." Zion's voice lowered his face, becoming serious. "I've only heard about them that monsters from B rank and up have their own traits just like humans." His gaze never left the red rake. Just like how awakened beings are ranked, if it possesses a red domain, it's a combat type. Zion was in the middle of speaking when it began to move, and one with a blue domain like that thing over there is a— The red rake spread its wings, spewing a blast of ice power towards them. He panicked in fear. A magic type. Damn it, that's just ridiculously strong. Unexpectedly, Diodon had already swung his sword twice in a cross-shaped slash, tearing it apart. Zion's jaw dropped as he watched the shattered ice fragments rain down. Time seemed to stand still. Before his eyes, all the experience and knowledge he had became meaningless in front of this old man. The fierce battle continued to rage on as Zion watched. Diodon followed up with another slash along the red rake's spine. It immediately raised its sharp claws to attack Dot Model, but he stopped the red rake in its tracks. What was more surprising was his lure tactic, letting himself be caught neatly in its claws. The red rake opened its massive jaws, intending to use its final move. In this situation, he let out a gleeful smile. Diodon only needed one hand to channel his mana and touch it. This was truly the smile of a man who has never known defeat. "It hurts, doesn't it, rake?" He grabbed the rake with both hands. "Don't worry, I'll personally put an end to that pain for you." Then Diodon struck the red rake down in a single blow, because today is the day you die. Seeing things were going south, Zion immediately ran. "Damn it, it feels more like the day I'm going to die." Behind him, unidentified streams of mana flew chaotically. I don't know what's up with these crazy guys, but they should just calm down and talk it out. With no other choice, Zion poured mana into his hands to create a protective barrier. He braced himself, trying his best to hold on. Under that immense power, Zion's feet sank deeper and deeper into the ground. Seriously, go fight somewhere far away. The shock waves alone are enough to kill someone. He struggled with all his might to escape this impossible situation. In contrast, Diodon, who was flying in the air, seemed incredibly excited. "This is so much fun, so exhilarating." He sat comfortably on the red rake's head, controlling it casually. "Feels like we're at an amusement park, doesn't it, red rake?" Next, Diodon swung his sword and stabbed it in the head, causing the red rake to fall. The residual mana from his attack flew towards Zion like a flash of lightning. It all happened so fast that he was stunned for a few seconds. Zion only snapped out of it just as it was about to hit him. Damn it all! But it seemed it was too late. He was blown far away. Zion tumbled across the ground like a ball. Then he was thrown off the ground and into the air. Zion looked back with eyes full of despair and regret. His vision began to fade in an instant. Ahead of him, the fierce battle raged on, as if no one even noticed a small fry like him. Diodon frantically raised his fist. "Is this all you've got, rake?" With just one punch, he slammed its head into the ground. "You call yourself a dungeon boss, but you're always lowering your head like that. You're embarrassing the title of final boss." The furious red rake gathered mana in its mouth. Diodon became even more excited. "So even bosses know how to pull off moves like this, huh?" A massive wave of power was unleashed from the red rake's maw. It tore through the air, heading straight for him. It was over. Smoke billowed from the red rake's mouth, its face looking as if a great burden had been lifted. But Diodon's voice echoed from out of nowhere, startling it. "Looking for me. To catch you, I had to wander the desert for an entire year." A sword flew out from nowhere, plunging straight into the rake. It opened its mouth and roared in pain. He stood tall, gripping the sword tightly in his hand. My purpose is to use your heart to forge this sword, Cleon. His eyes gleamed and his voice turned cold. Now die. Cleon slowly sank deeper into the red rake's heart. A stream of crimson mana was gradually released. At the same time, it enveloped Cleon. The mana was completely absorbed by Cleon, causing it to glow. Diodon's gaze never left the sword as it was being upgraded. After absorbing all the mana, Cleon seemed to have taken on a new, more powerful form model. He held it in his hands and admired it. Diodon smiled with delight. You've gotten stronger again, Zion. Suddenly, Zion's voice from somewhere caught his attention. Talking to a sword now. Have you really gone mad? He was lucky to be able to crawl back up, but taking down that rake, you're one terrifyingly strong old man. Diodon replied nonchalantly, You idiot, are you still alive? Zion had calmed down by now. Yeah, I almost died, but... He recalled the moment he was thrown off the cliff. Zion's mind was blank, unable to react. A second later, he slapped his face to regain his composure. Zion held out his fist to use his mana. He fell onto the sand platform he had just created. Zion narrowly escaped, not forgetting to praise himself. Damn it, I survived again. I'm not so bad after all. Back in the present, he sat up. Getting beaten up by the aftershocks from that crazy old man improved my reflexes. That's how I survived. Diodon bared his teeth in a mocking grin. Not bad for an idiot. Then he picked Zion up like a puppy. Crap, this dungeon is about to collapse. We have to get out of here quickly. His face showed his dissatisfaction as he questioned him. But why did you grab me? Diodon's smile wasn't reassuring. Instead, it gave one an indescribable sense of unease. And just like that, he forcefully threw Zion into a vortex. Goodbye, you idiot. He could only curse out loud. Hey, you crazy old man, you bastard. You're even worse than Park Man-ho. No sooner had he finished speaking than Zion appeared in another dimension. It turned out the vortex was a barrier gate from which he flew out and tumbled onto the sand. Zion got a mouthful of sand and coughed violently. Where is this place? Just then, Diodon calmly stepped out. What a strange question. We're out of the dungeon the crack created when the dungeon collapsed was the exit. His voice was weak and trembling. Then why didn't we just walk out? But he ignored him and said in a low voice, Listen carefully, you rotten idiot. His large, imposing figure stood before Zion. I need your sand-controlling energy, but you're too weak to be of any use, so I'll give you a choice. With one hand, Diodon pointed to a path. If you go this way, you'll reach Neo Soul. You can go back there and continue your old life. Then he pointed to himself. Or will you follow me to become a slightly better idiot? Zion was bewildered, his brain still fuzzy, as he asked, What are you suddenly talking about? If I follow you for how long? Diodon became increasingly grave. I don't know, maybe a few months, a few years, or even a few decades. We'll know when we get there. He was stunned by his words, so choose now. Diodon relentlessly provoked the fighting spirit within Zion. Return home to your familiar easy life, or take a gamble with a 99% chance of death. His decisive and resolute voice made him hesitate. Well, choose. Zion let out an arrogant laugh. A choice? You must be kidding me. He pointed his finger forward challengingly. Hey, old man, you've lost your mind. As if he had just heard a funny joke, Zion spoke mockingly. You're telling me to leave my house, my warm, cozy bed, and the shade to wander in this hot desert with you. But what he got in return was Diodon's rock-solid resolve. Yes, that's exactly what I mean. He let out a breath with a nonchalant air. Then there's nothing more to discuss. Zion silently walked past him. I'll follow you. His voice deepened. It's in my nature to get even with anyone I hate, but right now, I'm still too weak to get revenge. Then Zion smiled and looked back over his shoulder, and that includes you too, old man. He stood before Diodon's large frame and spoke at length. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met, and I have a feeling I'll never meet anyone stronger than you. He also let out a hearty laugh in response. That's why I can say for sure, that you'll die soon. Zion clenched his fist, puffing out his chest with conviction. It means that if I follow you, I will become stronger than anyone else. But Diodon just laughed scornfully. You'll regret that confidence of yours one day. With that, he turned and walked away decisively. Hurry up and follow me, you fool. It's a long road ahead. Zion ran after him. I told you not to call me a fool. A few sunbeams pierced through the thin layers of clouds shining down on the harsh desert. Zion, drenched in sweat, snapped irritably. Can you slow down a little? You reached out your arm trying to clutch at straws. Hey, old man, we've been walking for 6 straight hours. Let's take a break. Zion's only response was the cold back and silence of Diodon. He held his head in his hands and screamed at the top of his lungs. This is so depressing. Why won't you say a single word? Are you some kind of moody teenager whose mood changes on a whim? By now, Zion's eyes had lost their focus and grown dull. He no longer had the strength to speak. It's so hot. Is it 40 degrees? It must be at least 50. His feet felt as heavy as lead as he laboriously dragged them across the sand. I can't even walk in this damn sand anymore. At this rate, if the heat stroke doesn't kill me, the dehydration will. Zion began to collapse. What the hell am I supposed to do now? Diadon spoke, breaking the silence. There truly is no one in this world more foolish than you. You have power in your hands, and yet you don't even know how to use 1% of it. He looked up and asked, "What do you mean?" He explained as he walked. Having the ability to control sand yet struggling to walk on it is just pathetic. Zion roared once more. "That's easy for you to say. I only awakened a few days ago." Diadon looked at him out of the corner of his eye. So what? Zion's constant whining made Diadon grit his teeth in frustration. "I'm only an F rank. I'm not a high-level awakened like you." He turned around and laid into the boy. "Stop saying such foolish things. What does it matter if you're F rank or S rank?" Zion was stunned by Diadon's scolding. "Do you think anyone is just born in S rank? If people like that really exist, it's only because they were lucky enough to be blessed by the heavens." His face became ferocious. "So, what about it? Just because you weren't favored, you plan on living your whole life in surrender? Compared to others, you've already been blessed with so much." He stood there dumbfounded. "Blessed." Diadon waved his hand, his voice softening. "So stop complaining and start using your brain to figure out how to use your ability. What good are healthy limbs if your head is empty?" Then he placed a hand on Zion's shoulder. "It's your ability." Diadon leaned in close, advising him sternly, "Of course, you should be the one who understands it best. How to break free from that dull mind of yours to grow, or how to use it, you have to figure it all out for yourself." Zion was moved to tears. "Old man." Suddenly, his hand gripped Zion's shoulder tightly. "Do you get it, you idiot? If you can't figure it out on your own, you might as well be dead." Zion cried out in pain, begging, "I get it. I get it. Just let go." After that, he began to train in earnest, and the sand beneath Zion's feet started to swirl. Then, guided by his power, it formed a sphere that enveloped Zion. He looked around to assess the situation. "The range I can control is about 5 meters. It's a little small, but I think I can make it work." Zion continued forward, taking one heavy step after another. "The sand keeps sinking up to my ankles. If I can solve this, it will save me a lot of energy." He decided to try a different approach. What if I compress the sand to make it really hard? Success. Zion trotted on the surface of the sand. Awesome, it worked. My feet aren't sinking anymore. Walking is so much easier now. But after just 3 steps, he had to stop and think. But this uses a crazy amount of mana. It's not sustainable in the long run. Zion lifted his foot again, moving on to another plan. Or maybe I should try focusing mana into both of my feet. This way is definitely much easier to walk. He kept muttering in Diadon's ear, "If I just tweak this a bit, but that's not really using my power, so next I'll try." Meanwhile, Diadon just smirked slightly. "Just wait a little." Diadon was almost taken aback by Zion's enthusiasm. He just kept experimenting without ever giving up. That's truly the privilege of youth. He couldn't stop thinking. His rank is still F, but in terms of power and mana control, he must be top tier. While Diadon was lost in thought, if it's this kid, then he's definitely... Zion suddenly shouted with glee, "I did it." He dashed forward, eager to show off. "Hey, old man, look closely. I'm only using mana to control the sand that my feet touch. Now, walking feels as light as air." Not only that, Zion even stuck up his middle finger and taunted him. "An old man like you probably couldn't do this right. I can walk around super comfortably now, so what are you going to do, old man?" Suddenly, he received a loving punch from Diadon. There was a hint of annoyance in his voice. "You're such a pain. Stop wasting your energy on these useless tricks. You're going to get yourself killed." Seeing Zion on the verge of collapsing, Diadon urged him on. "We don't have time. Hurry up, you fool. Breathe. Come on, breathe." Zion's eyelids fluttered open only to be met with complete darkness. Where am I? Beside him, Diadon was heartily chewing on a piece of meat. "You're awake, you moron. I'm busy as hell, but I keep having to waste time because of you." He still managed to squeeze out a few sarcastic words in return. "We're not on vacation, you know. I'm covered in cuts and bruises." Zion looked at the ugly thing rolling around in front of him. "Is this dried meat?" Diodon leaned back. Rest, eat while you listen to me. This is a story from back when I was young, he said in a low voice while chewing. Back in those days, even if you were weak or incompetent, you could still survive. Protecting the weak was even seen as something honorable. Can you believe it? Zion listened quietly to Diodon's story. But as you can see, the world is different now. For you, this world is normal, but for me, I can never get used to it. He didn't forget to add a few harsh words. If you want to die, then just lie there and relax. Otherwise, get up and walk on your own 2 feet, you fool. Zion immediately shot up. All right, I get it. I'm getting up now. His eyes fixed on Diodine as if he'd discovered something. What is this? Zion watched his back, his mind wandering. I knew he was old, but I never imagined he was this old. I wonder how many years and memories he's accumulated. He had so many questions, but didn't dare to ask. And he's still sitting there gnawing on that piece of jerky. Maybe he uses his saliva to soften it instead of chewing. Zion popped the dried meat into his mouth, not forgetting to shoot Diodine a sideways glance. In a desert this dry, that's probably the only way. Why didn't you tell me sooner, geez? As he chewed, he pondered, instead of just giving me a fish, it seems he's teaching me how to fish. All done. Zion leaned back and stretched comfortably. Not that I've ever even seen a fish before. In the silence, his voice rang out. Old man, can I have another piece? But Diodine shut him down. Shut your mouth. Suddenly, Zion let out a huge sneeze. He wrapped his arms around his shivering body, forgetting how bone-chillingly cold the desert gets at night. Before sleeping, Zion didn't forget to badmouth the old man. And that senile old geezer, I couldn't get a wink of sleep because he was talking to his sword all night. Diodine just sat there, rambling on about the old days. Oh, my old friend. Yes, that spot is good. Zion even cursed him under his breath. This guy's insane. My throat is parched. Isn't there any water around here? Before he could finish the thought, Diodine already had the answer right in front of him. Zion gritted his teeth, swallowing his anger. Again, he's secretly drinking by himself without saying a word to me. He immediately started licking the bandage on his arm. He's wringing out the dew from his clothes. No wonder he laid everything out like that while we slept. Zion switched from one arm to the other. Just you wait, you crazy old man. I'll get my revenge when I'm stronger. Diodine's voice cut in. Hey, you moron. He angrily retorted. I told you I'm not a moron. I'm an idiot. And even Diodine had to give in to Zion's stubbornness. Idiot, do you feel anything yet? He was dumbfounded. Feel what? Zion looked up. This vibration. His expression grew tense. There's not just one of them. A moment later, a pack of hyenas with blood-red eyes appeared and surrounded them. Diodine seemed quite familiar with this rabble. Great horned hyenas, they usually travel by night, but we've run into them at dawn. Even in this predicament, he didn't forget to poke at Zion. Idiot, you think you can handle this yourself, or will you need my help again? As soon as he finished speaking, the pack of great horned hyenas began to charge. The battle-hungry Zion pointed forward with an arrogant laugh. Help, I don't need it. He yelled with conviction, because I'll survive on my own, just you watch. Grains of sand began to gather at Zion's fingertips. He continuously attacked the great horned hyenas. Zion's eyes flashed as he glanced over his shoulder. He flung his hand out, creating arrows of sand in the air, aimed right at it. But the harsh reality crushed Zion's initial confidence. Damn these crazy things. Why are there so many of them? He was exhausted and out of breath. Before they can bite me to death, I'll die from mana exhaustion. I need a plan. I need a plan. Zion's brain started working at full capacity. Power isn't the most important thing right now. I need to attack efficiently and conserve mana. He began to calm down and think, how can I fight using the least amount of mana? Think. Unexpectedly, a great horned hyena lunged forward and snapped at Zion's arm. He struggled frantically, not forgetting to curse. Hey, you monster. I was trying to concentrate. You coward sneak attacking me like that. Zion looked at the wound on his arm and gritted his teeth in anger. This crazy thing punched a hole right through my arm. It looks like a wind hole. Saying that out loud made him pause. A wind hole. Meanwhile, the great horned hyenas continued to swarm and attack. It drew closer and closer to Zion's back. But Zion was still lost in thought, muttering to himself, That's right, a hole. I just need to make a hole. Then a savage grin spread across his face, just like this. Zion raised his head maniacally, looking at the pack of great horned hyenas. That's right, why bother blowing their entire heads off? Whether they explode or just have a hole punched through them, they'll die either way. He faced adversity without a hint of fear. In battle, mana is your life. If you panic and waste it, you're just killing yourself faster. Zion continued to shape the sand into sharp spikes to attack. One shot to take them all down, using the least amount of mana for the highest kill efficiency. Fighting is all about calculating the cost. Then he turned to observe Diaden. Look at that old man just slowly killing them one by one. Even though his hand was entirely inside a great horned hyena's mouth, Diaden just laughed loudly. What's this? It's just a little tickle. He only had to twist his arm, and this damn dog's entire jaw nearly came off. Diaden faced a whole pack of great horned hyenas alone, but he didn't flinch. You can't let a dog that bites people live right. All of you can just die here. On the contrary, he grinned, baring his teeth in excitement. Zion couldn't dodge in time. He could only raise his arms to try and block. Wait, that old man is starting again. The fiendish Diaden closed in, swinging his sword. It was a complete massacre. A jet-black streak of mana shot out with terrifying power. Its destructive force was so great it blew away the entire pack of great horned hyenas, except for Zion, who was still struggling to defend himself. It's finally over. His face was completely pale. That old man is insane. I swear there was someone else right here. The attack left behind a long trail in an enormous crater. Zion stood frozen to the spot. Is he even human? He can do that without even using a skill. His face tensed, becoming a bit more wary. Damn it, I'd better be more careful from now on. One slip-up and I'm a goner. Meanwhile, Diaden stood on the belly of a great horned hyena. You're deafening me. You're the pack leader, aren't you? For a leader, you sure panic a lot. It struggled, aiming its horn straight at him, intending to take him down with it. Diaden still had time to calmly assess his prey. That's a defensive move, you bastard. So you're B rank or higher. Suddenly, a brilliant burst of power shot out from the sharp horn attacking him. Zion frantically screamed, "Old man, watch out." But over here, Diaden had already casually caught the horn with his bare hand. He was stunned once again, his hand frozen midair. Watch out for what? He let go of the great horned hyena's horn. That had a little tingle to it. It's a great way to stretch my shoulder muscles. Then Diaden cheerfully began to use his mana. The warm-up is over now. Die. Just a single punch from him sent it to the afterlife in an instant. Zion scoffed at the rain of flesh. Really, who am I to worry about someone else? It's best to just ignore that monster and save myself the headache. He put on the spoils he had acquired. Sir, it's all cleaned up, should we go now? Meanwhile, Diaden was still fiddling with the horn. You're still alive, you idiot. Zion asked with some curiosity, are you planning to take that with you? He replied with a smile. The horn of a great horned hyena is quite useful. It has a lightning attribute. If you know how to craft it, it can become a great weapon. Then Diaden tossed a dagger at the animal hide on him. Take it. Zion held it in his hand, unable to hide his curiosity. It's a dagger. Meanwhile, the old man was still rummaging through his dimensional storage. From now on, fend for yourself, don't expect any more help from me. Diaden held up a piece of meat, carefully instructing him. Their muscles are highly toxic. Eating it will kill you, but the meat from the loin is not poisonous. Seeing his hesitant look, the old man urged him on. What are you looking at? Dawn is breaking. Let's get going, you idiot. The sun appeared, signaling the end of a long night. Zion continued on his journey. Yes, sir. He chewed on the dried meat while happily humming a tune. This is great. Zion's chest was packed with meat from the great horned hyenas. A little thirsty, but at least I have food. His life seemed to have gotten a lot easier, and with the desert step skill, getting around was a breeze. Zion didn't forget to taunt Diaden. Aren't you jealous? You're old, so don't push yourself too hard. He even learned how to dodge the old man's attacks. I dodged it this time. Who would have thought his joy would last less than 3 seconds before he was hit again? Diaden's voice was a bit annoyed. What a crazy brat. My legs are about to fall off from walking, and he's acting all high and mighty because of that measly skill. Zion still had the energy to stick out his tongue and fool around. Come on, I was just kidding. I'm dying of thirst, and you shove my face in the sand. He paid it no mind and called out, Hey, I'm talking to you. Where are you looking? Wait a minute, is this feeling moisture? Zion silently observed Diaden. Am I imagining things? He's also looking in that direction, which means... He followed his gaze. Is it really there right past this spot an oasis? An unusually large sand dune rose up in the middle of the desolate desert. The two of them walked over it together. Zion cheered excitedly. It's real, a place I've only ever heard about in rumors. He stretched his arms refreshingly, as if a great burden had been lifted. An oasis at last. The desert was now hotter than an oven, with gusts of wind blowing nothing but sand. Zion trudged slowly, the heat draining his strength. He looked into the distance and shouted excitedly, "It's real, a place I've only ever heard about in rumors." Zion spread his arms wide and yelled, "An oasis." Then he slid down the slope to get to the bottom. Water. How many days has it been since I've had a drop of water? Seeing this, Diadin just clicked his tongue. Zion was so excited he sprinted forward. I've finally found it." He barely thought twice before plunging his face into the water. The cool sensation instantly washed away the heat from his skin, making Zion feel incredibly relieved. The water is seeping in. This feels amazing. He silently lamented his suffering in this damn desert of over 50 degrees Celsius. After so many days, this cool feeling is finally sinking into my body. Zion's eyes suddenly paused. Was he too happy? From deep within the pool, something seemed to reflect into his eyes. What is that light? It's so bright, but also so warm. Not long after, Zion's eyelids suddenly felt heavy as lead. Why do I feel so sleepy all of a sudden? Just then, Diadin's roar echoed in his ear. "Snap out of it, you idiot!" He came rushing over at that moment. The light from the pool grew brighter, because from beneath the deep water, a giant anglerfish was surfacing with its mouth wide open. Diadin charged forward and precisely grabbed Zion by his clothes. Just as he forcefully pulled him away, the huge fish lunged out of the water. Its missed snap left Zion unharmed but absolutely terrified. Diadin then let go of him, took a running start, and leaped high into the air. He switched his grip, tightening it on his weapon, and just like that, he brought it down in a powerful, fatal blow. The force of his strike sent water from the pool splashing all over him. I can't believe it. So this is the thing I've only ever heard stories about. Zion stared blankly, looking up at the creature slowly emerging from behind a rainbow mist. Diadin roughly tossed aside the fish fin he had just torn off. That's a sand-jaw monster. It uses the light on its forehead to lure in its prey and devour it. He stopped talking then, but his expression gradually turned grim. Just as expected, a second later, Diadin landed a fierce blow on Zion. He subconsciously touched his throbbing cheek, while Diadin roared in anger, "Did you throw everything I taught you in the trash, you moron? You got a little used to things and thought you were all that, huh?" He continued to shout in frustration, "Idiots like you are the first to die in this desert. You hear me, you brat?" Zion said nothing and just meekly replied in a small voice, "Yes?" Diadin let out a soft sigh, his tone softening slightly. "Skin it." Hearing that, he was a bit surprised. Skin it. He lowered his voice to explain, "It's a C-rank monster. Its belly skin is soft and tough, perfect for making a cloak. So cut it up and make yourself a cloak." Zion still asked naively, "You need a cloak?" Diadin's anger, which had just subsided, flared up again because of him. "Not for me. Make it for yourself, you damn blockhead. Why does your brain get dumber by the day? There must be a reason for it. Did someone petrify the left side of your brain and then use corrosion magic on the right side?" Zion felt like his ears were about to fall off, but could only say ruefully, "I'm sorry." Also, he said in a low voice, "Although it's changed a lot, this thing looks very similar to a species of fish that used to live on Earth." Diadin didn't argue further and just turned away. "You've probably never seen a fish before, so take a good look. Otherwise, do whatever you want." Zion thought to himself, "So that's a fish." His eyes widened slightly. This is the first time I've ever seen one fish are truly terrifying. Then he took out a knife and slowly tried to pierce the fish's belly. Seeing this, Diadin leisurely teased him, "Want me to scratch this fish's back for you? It would probably feel so good a dead fish would come back to life, right?" Zion flinched. "Stop it. I can do it myself." After saying that, he looked up at it one more time. "This is tougher than I thought. In that case." Then Zion tried to channel some mana into his knife. "Focus. I have to focus." He began to meticulously make a firm incision, channeling mana into the blade to increase its cutting power. Zion's eyes were wide with concentration as he shaved the fin thin to make a sewing needle. He muttered to himself, "What if I use the tendons from the meat as thread?" His eyes lit up in an instant. This is it. But then he slumped down dejectedly. "I'm so finished." Seeing this, Diadin cruelly taunted him, "You've turned that fish into a pile of garbage." Zion, feeling a bit defiant, cursed out loud, "Damn it, there's still plenty of material here. I'll just try again." And so his one attempt lasted until midnight when it was completely pitch black. Zion finally shouted in excitement, "It's done! I finally finished it perfectly." He muttered to himself, "After 8 miserable failures, it's finally done. This level of quality should be good enough to sell. Welcome to Zion's Fashion Emporium." Diodon slowly stood up at that moment. "Hey, you idiot!" Zion, thinking his hard work was about to be stolen, growled desperately, "No way, I won't let you. You can't have it. It's mine." But he just coldly cut him off. "Stop your nonsense and eat this." He eyed the huge thing in Diodon's hand with suspicion. "Freshly cut. What is this?" He calmly replied, "A sandworm's gallbladder is an extremely rare medicine. Don't you dare leave even a tiny bit. Eat every last piece." Zion nervously swallowed. "And if I don't eat it all?" Diodon grinned widely. "Then you will die." With that, he decisively tossed it over and urged him, "Take it quickly. My arm is about to fall off." Zion, feeling incredibly resentful, retorted, "Then just let it fall off." But being a coward, he only thought this to himself before looking at the massive gallbladder. After a few seconds of hesitation, Zion could only close his eyes and take a bite. "All right, damn it. This is medicine, after all. It's horrifyingly bitter, but it's better than being beaten to death." After chewing for a moment, he suddenly stopped grimacing. "What is this?" Zion lowered his head and took another big bite. "What is this feeling? Why don't I feel full, no matter how much I eat?" Just as he was focused on eating, Diodon suddenly spoke up. "Hey, you fool!" He grinned, baring his teeth. "It's time for you to burn to a crisp." Zion turned to him in confusion. "What the hell are you talking about?" Just as he said that, he suddenly clutched his throat and let out a scream, throwing his head back. Zion felt a strange heat erupting from within his own body. "What is this? My body's so hot. It's not just simply hot." That heat became more and more intense. My body, my mana, everything is going crazy. It hurts so much. It feels like a sun is thrashing around in my stomach. At this rate, I'm really going to. While Zion roared in agony, Diodon remained calm beside him. "Just endure it, you fool." He gazed out at the water beyond. "Everything is just like this oasis. It will soon disappear with the desert wind, as if it never existed." Diodon muttered in a low voice, "But in that very place the sandworms will be reborn, and then they will return. Life is just a repeating cycle." Zion was now in so much pain, he was thrashing about like a fish. "Damn it, that old man!" he screamed in agony. "Stop sitting there with your sentimental philosophies. Please save me." He slowly glanced over at him. Seeing his indifference, Zion screamed in fury, "Old man, I'll kill you." Diodon paid him no mind and just partially closed his eyes. "Shut your mouth so I can get some sleep." He continued to writhe in agonizing pain. When he groggily awoke, the sky was bright. "Where am I?" Diodon suddenly appeared, looking down at him upside down. "You're awake, are you, fool?" Having just woken up, Zion jumped to his feet. "You startled me. You scared me half to death." He simply asked, "Did you sleep well, you idiot?" Hearing this, Zion pouted resentfully. "Sleep I passed out, you know." Diodon replied calmly, "Is that so? Well, how does your body feel?" Only then did Zion slowly check his body. "My body. It feels the same as usual." Halfway through, he suddenly paused and clenched his fist. "No, that's not right." Zion suddenly realized his body felt as light as a grain of sand. His muscles were as tough as steel cables, and his mana was swirling like a violent storm. He stared blankly. "What is this? Why did I suddenly get so much stronger? What happened to me?" Diodon revealed in a deep voice, "It's because of the sandworm's gallbladder." He turned to look at him. A sandworm's gallbladder is a precious medicine for desert travelers. It gives them the strength to endure the scorching sun and sand, and to merchants, it's worth an entire mana stone. Diodon continued in a satisfied tone, "It seems the medicine worked better than I expected. Congratulations, you fool." Zion was utterly stunned. "Something so valuable, and you really gave it to me." Diodon replied without hesitation, "It's because you're too weak. If I'm going to the trouble of dragging you along, you at least have to be a little useful." He ran over excitedly. "I understand. I'll become very useful. The multi-talented Zion, the reliable Zion." Diodon cut him off in annoyance. "Shut your mouth and eat. We're not leaving until this worm is finished." The sun rose higher in the sky, and the heat began to dominate once more. Diodon lightly touched the bare skeleton and muttered, "This monster had more meat than I thought. We've been stuffing our faces for 4 whole days." With that said, he turned back to Zion. "Well then, shall we get going, you fool?" The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Then he let out a loud, excited cheer. Before they got too far, a sandstorm violently swept in. Zion, wrapped in a homemade cloak, calmly walked onward. He mumbled as he walked, "A sandstorm. Thanks to my new powers, this is nothing more than a breeze." Zion glanced at Diego's back, but that old geezer was still walking briskly without needing a break. He muttered to himself, "He has not said a single word for days. Is he going through male menopause or something?" Zion's thoughts turned to suspicion. "We have been walking for 2 weeks straight. Does this geezer even know where he is going?" Behind him, a house-sized desert ant leaped out, but Zion was too busy being annoyed. Damn it, I hope this crazy old man is not lost. Its loud roar annoyed him, and he reflexively threw a punch back. "Shut up, you pest." Zion continued to grumble. "How much farther do we have to go?" He had just finished speaking when he suddenly froze and glanced behind him. Noting the dent in the desert ant's head, Zion nonchalantly commented, "You are a tough one, are not you?" He thought with some annoyance, "I was hoping to pass through here peacefully. Looks like that is not an option anymore." Zion sensed a whole swarm of desert ants approaching. It looks like they mean business. He lowered his stance and raised his hands. "All right, if you want to fight, then bring it on." Zion gathered a massive amount of mana and slammed it into the ground. "Hurry up, or you will end up dead at that old geezer's hands. Let's go." The swarm of ants, which had been concealed by the sand, were revealed by his gale. Zion crouched down, pointed a finger forward, and praised, "Good, you are an obedient one. Sand bomb." Immediately, the sand around him exploded upwards. Zion stood up, his entire vision filled with sand. A sandstorm like this is actually pretty interesting. All you can see is sand everywhere. The moment he looked over and saw Diego far in the distance, he screamed, "Where did that old man go? Hey, geezer, how could you just abandon me and run off alone, you evil man?" As the dust settled to reveal the desert ants, Zion's angry voice echoed, "Have you ever seen anyone live without a single friend or colleague? No wonder you are so alone in your old age." He quickly ran towards Diego, whispering under his breath, "If you heard that, I am sorry." Zion's eyes widened as he muttered, "There is no way he heard that." Zion's sensory range was limited to a 10-meter radius. Normally, Zion was always wary of his surroundings and never let his guard down so he could react instantly to any monster that appeared. However, what Zion had just sensed was a little different. What Zion detected now was more like a sense of terror than a magical beast. Immediately after, a swarm of desert ants burst out from the sand. He wiped the sweat from his chin and could not help but curse loudly. Damn it! Why are there so many of them? Where did this huge army crawl out from? Zion glanced at the distant figure and screamed, "Geezer, look at how many there are!" In the distance, Diego, with a calm expression, quietly took in the whole scene. But in a flash, Zion raised his hands to gather magic, muttering through clenched teeth, "No, I can't keep crying for help like a little kid." He raised his hand, creating sand dunes aimed at the charging swarm of desert ants, and said, "The old man must have sensed them. If so, then this is a test he has set for me." Zion stared at the swarm of desert ants and yelled, "You damn insects, whether there is 1,000 or 10,000 of you bugs, are still just bugs." He swung his arm, and hundreds of sand arrows flew out, engulfing them all. Zion gritted his teeth, continuously controlling the sand to attack the desert ant swarm. Suddenly, one desert ant broke through and charged right at him. Zion placed both hands on its body, backflipping away to dodge. "Holy crap, I take back what I said. Why are there so many of these bastards?" With a ferocious look, he clenched his fist and slammed it into the desert ant, screaming, "Ganging up on me! Huh, you cowards, have you no shame? Come on, fight me one-on-one if you dare." Zion looked at the massive number of desert ants diving from above and cursed inwardly. Damn it. Immediately after, the sand on the ground exploded upwards. This is insane. It is literally an entire anthill. A thick cloud of dust rose high, obscuring the entire scene. Standing on a rock, Zion burst through the cloud of dust and launched himself into the air. He squinted his left eye, which was bleeding non-stop, and looked down at the swarm of desert ants. "It feels like I just fell right into a giant anthill." Then Rayon looked up and said, "First, I need to fly up and assess the situation. Lucky for me, you guys are the type who don't know how to fight in the air." Suddenly his eyes widened as a force from behind yanked him down hard. Rayon braced one hand on the rock beneath him and looked back to see desert ants climbing over each other, chasing him from behind. His face went blank with disbelief as he cried out, "Are you kidding me, right? There's no way this can be happening." A desert ant clamped its pincers onto Rayon's leg, letting out a sharp screech. He was forcefully pulled down, his whole body slamming hard into the ground. Rayon let out a dry cough, fresh blood spilling out endlessly. He quickly turned over, bracing one hand on the ground to push himself up. Rayon's whole body trembled uncontrollably as he coughed again and again. He struggled to lift his head and look into the distance. Up above, Diego stood with his arms crossed, looking completely unconcerned as Rayon's voice reached his ears. "Old man." The corner of his mouth twitched up, revealing teeth clenched with effort. Rayon gave a smirk and looked straight in his direction, saying, "Just you watch. Watch how I survive this." Diego watched the sand whirl upwards and shouted back, "Now that's more like it. That's the spirit, you idiot." The old man quietly watched the scene unfold, musing, "Your ability is truly a gift in this world that has become a desert. You could definitely use it to live a life that would make anyone envious." Diego's eyes narrowed, veins popping on his face fiercely. "But if that's all you do, then that's where it ends." His voice echoed across the area. "Those block-headed fools don't even understand why the world ended up like this. They're too busy chasing after illusions." Diego thought of mass-produced machines and muttered, "A true awakened is someone who must learn, apply, and develop their skills on their own, not through some standardized factory mold method." The old man watched the sand explode and spray everywhere, thinking, "I still can't forget." Diego crossed his arms, watching the sand continuously detonate below. "I still can't forget what happened." Before his eyes, a scene of buildings being swallowed by a sea of fire appeared, that horrifying tragedy from 100 years ago. The entire city was engulfed in red flames, and I was so helpless back then. So many people died needlessly right in front of me. With a deafening explosion, the flames quickly devoured all my colleagues, neighbors, and even my family members. Not even my daughter was spared. Diego remembered his daughter's small hand. "I couldn't protect a single thing, like the most pathetic person on earth. I lost everything right before my eyes." His gaze fell upon Rayon, easily dispatching the desert ants around him. "But you are different." Diego looked on in silence, his lips barely moving. "You have the potential to become anyone. Dive in and cross the line between life and death." The corner of his mouth lifted as he growled out each word, and in the end, "You will become stronger." Diego saw Rayon wave his hand effortlessly, sending the surrounding desert ants flying just like now. A faint light gleamed in his eyes, a crazed look flashing across his face. "You can feel it too, can't you? You're all about to die." All around, the swarm of desert ants stared intently at Rayon. Immediately after, with a loud cry from him, sand from the ground gathered. A super high-pressure compressed sand missile. It sounds simple and crude, but a sand missile shot straight into the cluster of desert ants in front of him. Rayon watched it hurtle towards the desert ants and said, "If I focus all the gravity wind force and every source of energy I have, the power will increase tens of times over." He spread his arms wide, his face full of joy as he watched it explode. Rayon stared straight ahead, so excited that veins popped out. "With this move, you're all finished." He raised both hands, directing the sand missile to crash straight down. "If you can't kill me before I get a little stronger, you're the ones who are dead for sure." In the distance, Diego crossed his arms, a look of delight on his face. That punk getting so worked up over just this. Over there, Rayon clutched his injured arm, his eyes watchful and wary. The smoke and dust cleared, revealing jagged craters in front of him. He clenched his fist, letting out a series of triumphant laughs. Just as Rayon was gloating, a large pair of pincers clamped onto his waist from behind. "Old man, did you see that? I'm going to slaughter all these bastards." Rayon gritted his teeth, glancing back with a face full of disbelief. "How can this be?" He threw his head back and shouted in confusion, "Why couldn't I feel its presence at all?" Rayon grabbed the clamping pincers with his bloody hand. Invisibility. No, there's no way these small fries could use such a high-level skill. If that's the case, then this is poison. He ground his teeth, his face ferocious as he roared, "No wonder I've been having trouble controlling my mana. Is it a poison that blocks the mana flow points?" Rayon angrily roared forward, "You damn bastards, you dare use a trick like this!" The pincer from behind struck him hard on the back of the head, knocking him unconscious. A moment later, Zion opened his eyes in the darkness. "Damn bastard." He looked around in confusion. "Where the hell am I, you damn ants? Is this an ant nest?" Suddenly, Zion looked up and saw a larva quickly crawling toward him. He watched them uncertainly as the surrounding larvae crawled relentlessly toward his arm. It used its sharp pincers to bite down hard on his arm. Zion looked up at the cliff wall, lost in thought. I can't move my body anymore. At this rate, they'll eat me alive. His vision started to blur, his eyes slowly closing. His heavy eyelids fell. Zion's heart filled with unwillingness. Is this the end? My life is flashing before my eyes. It was a larva crawling closer and closer, making small chirping sounds. His hand clenched into a fist, and he smashed it with all his strength. On the cliff wall, a desert ant saw this and let out a shriek. Below, Zion clenched his fist and let out a loud laugh. Damn it! He threw his head back and yelled, "Not a single good memory is flashing through my mind. This is so unfair. I can't die a pointless death like this." On Zion's arm, 2 lines of energy lit up. You damn ants! Immediately after, the ground exploded, sending sand flying high into the air. Seeing this, the desert ants quickly gathered, making sounds to alert the others. The ground beneath them also erupted, sending dirt and rocks flying. The cliff wall was quickly enveloped in dust as large chunks of rock exploded outwards. Below, Zion lowered his head. A series of sand missiles formed around him. Zion looked down at his arm. I just leveled up. The mark is gone, and my stamina and mana are overflowing. He gazed at the 2 glowing lines on it, asking uncertainly, did I evolve? Zion stared at his hand and muttered, compared to when I was F rank, my strength and mana are on a whole different level now. He glanced to his left and added, and yet. Zion saw the giant unscratched figure of the queen ant, astonished, not even a single wound. Immediately after, he saw it charge straight at him and jumped aside to dodge. Zion pointed 2 index fingers at the queen ant, gritting his teeth and shouting, "That bastard!" It shattered the cliff like it was a wall of sand. Just how strong is it? The sand missiles slammed into the queen ant and exploded but had no effect. Zion braced himself on the ground, crying out when he saw the result. This is insane. Not even a scratch. That thing's a monster. He strained veins popping on the back of his hand. I can't win like this. Zion stared at the giant queen ant before him. No matter how hard I attack now, I can't even leave a scratch on it. He held his hands out as if measuring its body. Then I'll have to use my head away to defeat unbreakable armor. Immediately, the sand beneath the queen ant rose and gathered, not by breaking it, not by piercing it, but by tearing it apart. The surrounding sand gathered like ropes binding its entire body. Zion watched the streams of sand pouring from his clenched fists. That's right. If I can't destroy it, I'll twist its armor and rip it clean off. The queen ant, being relentlessly crushed by the sand, let out a piercing screech. With a roar, a bright ball of energy formed between its pincers. Zion continued to manipulate the surrounding sand, trying to envelop the queen ant within. Seeing the bright orb, he yelled with his mouth wide open, "This crazy thing, what the hell is that?" Zion felt his eardrums being pierced and realized with a start, is that a low frequency? No, it's a high frequency. At this rate, my body will explode. Pulses of energy from the light orb continuously struck toward where he was standing. Zion lowered his head and gritted his teeth, his expression fierce. Damn it, you bastard. You were hiding a move like this until the very end. A white light flashed in his eyes as fresh blood streamed out. Fine, let's do this, you son of a bitch. Zion looked straight at the queen ant in the distance and screamed, "Let's see if I die or you die." He felt the frequency boring deeper and deeper into him. Let's see who comes out on top. Zion's eyes widened, filled with ferocious, bloodshot veins. This won't end until one of us is down. Come on, you bastard. After a moment, the light in his hand flickered out, and his whole body fell backward. Zion's eyes widened in utter disbelief. What is happening? Why is my body? His body fell backward unconsciously as he thought to himself, it's over. I hit my limit a while ago. Zion's vision blurred, unable to control his falling body. This damn body is so weak. Diadine reached out, catching his entire body in his arms. To be honest, you're frustratingly weak. The corner of the old man's mouth curled into a teasing smile. If you sleep here, your face will get all twisted, you fool. Hearing this, Zion called out to the old man with a bright smile on his face. His weak voice called out, I'm leaving the final blow to you. Hearing this, Diadine couldn't help but laugh out loud. What a cheeky brat. Well, I guess you're not completely useless after all. The old man turned to look at the queen ant's body, which was cut in two. It was a C rank, much stronger than you. Even so, the fact that you didn't give up and risked your life to fight is commendable. You deserve to live. Zion closed his eyes, leaning his head against Diadine's chest. I can't hear a thing you're saying. My eardrums are completely shot. Right after the old man casually lifted him up with one hand. Just your eardrums, huh? As Diodin picked him up, Zion looked confused. Hey, old man, where are you suddenly going? The old man turned to look at the queen ant egg in the nearby rubble carrying him over. Zion pouted, staring at it and wondering to himself, what is it now? He pointed a finger at the queen ant egg. But look here, old man, what is this? Diodin glanced over with a grin, placing a hand on a rock wall with writing carved into it. Diodin's hand rested on the stone tablet that read, Eat it, it's medicine. Seeing this, Zion grew suspicious. What the hell is this? Is he really telling me to eat that thing? His eyes widened as he looked at the queen ant egg, thinking, how the hell am I supposed to eat that? Zion looked up to test him. I'm just asking to be sure, but after I eat this, it won't drive me crazy like that sandworm honey did, will it? Diodin glanced away, answering nonchalantly, eating that will probably kill you instantly. Zion watched the old man's mouth move, screaming internally, damn it, I can't hear a word he's saying. In the end, Zion gave in and opened his mouth to bite the queen ant egg. Whatever, it probably won't kill me right away. He swallowed it, thinking to himself, I don't know what strawberries taste like, but... Immediately after, Zion's face lit up as he looked up and exclaimed, Whoa, what is this? It's insanely delicious. His eyes widened, blood vessels pulsing within them. Are there any more, old man? Zion felt sharp thorns sprouting from inside his body and stammered, Old man, what? He looked down, feeling his body changing, his organs flipping inside out, meaning his guts were twisting and turning upside down. The queen ant egg is extremely poisonous. Just one small bite is enough to make a person's organs turn inside out. In other words, whoever eats the shell will have their organs pierced and shredded by thorns, then twisted until they die from the gut-wrenching pain. Zion clutched his head with both hands and screamed wildly, No, what the hell is this? What did you just make me eat? Diodin picked at his ear as if scolding him. You're too loud. If you want to survive in this crazy world, you'd better get used to it. Zion's cheeks puffed out as he couldn't help but retort, How can anyone get used to this? He spat out a large mouthful of blood, cursing angrily, damn it. Zion looked down at his blood-stained hand. In this trashy life, I really thought I had finally found someone I could trust. The scene by the campfire with Diodin flashed through his mind as he thought, in the end, I really am just an idiot. Zion lowered his head as cold sweat rolled continuously down his face. The old man stood still, watching his entire body collapse onto the ground. Diodin lifted the severed lower half of the queen ant to examine it. Now then. Then he thrust his hand deep inside to search for something. Diodin's hand went deep inside its body, quickly searching all over. After a moment, he grabbed the queen ant's mana stone and pulled it out forcefully. Diodin looked at the glowing stone in his hand with a wide smile. A magic beast's mana stone is on a completely different level from those at the quarry. I've really hit the jackpot. He quickly put the mana stone in a pouch at his side and looked over, having made a decision. It seems this ant is quite useful, so I should gather everything. Diodin was startled with amazement when he saw Zion emitting a faint light. His gaze shifted to the side as he muttered in a low voice, My old friend. Diego looked at Zion lying on the ground and added, Yes, I know, but there's no other way. The weak have to die, that's just his fate. With that, he quickly pulled his weapon from the ground, preparing to turn and leave. Diego still didn't look back. You know it too. We don't have much time left. After a long moment, Zion stared at the blood before him, asking in disbelief, What am I still alive? Just then, Diego leaned in with a smirk. Hey, are you awake, you idiot? Sand and dust immediately burst upward, shrouding everything within. He waved his hand, scolding with a displeased look. You insolent brat, what do you think you're doing, kicking up all this dust, you punk? Zion looked up, raising an eyebrow in confirmation, for real. He looked at the sand missiles surrounding Zion and said, Are you being serious, you blockhead? Diego calmly watched them aim right at him. Hey, idiot, stop messing around. Zion raised his hand, commanding the sand to continuously attack Diego Y. He watched agitatedly as the waves of sand struck relentlessly from all directions. Why did you try to kill me? The surrounding sand surged, and with it came Zion's questioning voice. Why was that? He swung his hand, his eyes filled with determination. I will not forgive you. From below the ground, sharp pillars of rock quickly shot upwards. The sand under Zion's control rushed in from all sides, shattering the stone pillars. He raised both his hands, relentlessly attacking Diego. Zion was covered in sweat, still holding his hands up as he panted heavily. He looked up and asked again in a cold voice, "I asked you why." Diego shouted angrily, "You idiot, what the hell do you think you're doing?" He stood with his arms crossed behind the rock pillars, taunting, "I know the beholder's venom confuses the mind, but can't you use your brain to think for a moment?" Zion thought in utter disbelief. What the hell did he just stand there and take all of my attacks? He doesn't have a single scratch on him. Diego's eyebrows furrowed as he explained calmly, "You fool, if I wanted you dead, I could have ended you with a snap of my fingers. Why would I go through the trouble of poisoning you?" Hearing this, he fell silent for a long moment, then stammered, "That does make sense, I guess." Right after, the old man's voice continued, "The beholder's venom is indeed a powerful poison that wreaks havoc on your organs, but on the other hand, it also helps flush out all the toxins and impurities. Depending on its use, it can be a lethal poison or a first-rate elixir. It cleanses all the filth from your body." Zion stood perfectly still, listening to Diego's words, and then fills those empty spaces with mana. "When you attacked me just now, you felt it yourself, didn't you?" Hearing his words, he immediately clenched his fist to feel it. "Your mana has increased 3, maybe 4 times. After he finished, Zion looked over at him with an anxious expression. He immediately lunged forward and hugged Diego by the waist. "I'm sorry for doubting you. I think I short-circuited back there. How could I ever have doubted you?" The old man looked down and replied gently, "All right, you absolute moron, I get it. So let me go." A grown man clinging to someone like this is just creepy. Zion, his face full of tears, bit down to keep from crying out, "Wait, I can hear it even healed my ears." Diego looked down, smiling as he urged, "You're a big oaf, crying like a child, let go of me already." He shook his head in refusal. "No way, not yet." The old man whispered back, "I know, I understand, my old friend. Honestly, it wouldn't have been a surprise if he had actually died back there." His face a mess of tears and snot, Zion looked up to observe him. "That was a close call. I'm sure he won't hold it against me now. Right, that save was pretty good." Diego looked at his face and thought to himself, he only survived because he's strong. He clenched his fists so tightly that veins bulged on them. If he doesn't get stronger quickly, he's useless to me. This is just a gamble on a piece of trash. Diego lifted Zion with one arm. "All right, are you ready to go?" He quietly whispered in his heart, "You idiot, don't you dare forgive me, you fool." He frowned, staring at the old man. "Why are you grabbing me again?" The corners of Diego's mouth curled up, revealing a set of perfectly even teeth. He had a bright smile on his face as he raised a finger. "We don't have much time, so it's best we get out of here as fast as possible, don't you agree?" Zion's eyes went wide, his face covered in a cold sweat. "Crap, don't tell me you're planning to." On the surface of the ground, a few scorpions were happily gathered. Then suddenly a burst of power shattered the ground and shot straight up into the sky. Diego carried Zion with one hand, laughing loudly. "What do you think, you idiot? Much faster, right?" He angrily raised a fist and screamed, "Faster, my foot, can't you travel like a normal person for once?" The old man turned his head and shouted, "Well then maybe you shouldn't have slept for 4 days straight." Diego frowned as he glanced to the side. "A weakling like you will never get a wife." "Wait, what is that?" Hearing that, Zion followed his gaze. "What now? At this point, nothing can surprise me anymore." His eyes widened in shock, and all he could do was let out a gasp. Zion saw the colossal figure of Arsenal and yelled, "Holy crap, what in the world is that?" Zion stared in that direction, asking, even from at least 30 kilometers away, that demonic beast still looks that huge. Dayu Odin let go, landing quickly on the ground. "Can't they give me a moment of peace? That's the mobile fortress Arsenal." Arsenal, Zion repeated in disbelief. Looking at its giant leg, the old man confirmed, "Yes, it's a B-rank turtle-type magic beast, but its defense surpasses even an A-rank. They modified its shell and tamed it to be used as a vehicle." Zion, completely stunned, asked with his jaw dropped, "Are you saying someone actually rides that insane monster?" Dayu Odin glanced over and confirmed, "That's right." "Look closely, you idiot." Zion looked up, mouth agape, as the old man's voice rang in his ear. "This world is a vast place." Dayu Odin said with his hands clasped behind his back, "And there are freaks out there capable of controlling a beast like that." He watched the towering Arsenal approach and added, "Burn that image into your mind." From on top of it, a figure pushed off of Arsenal and leaped down. In the blink of an eye, he had landed in front of the two of them. The voice of a man in glasses rang out. "I wasn't sure from so far away, but it really is you." Standing beside them, Zion exclaimed, "What the heck?" Without turning around, Dayu Odin commanded, "Stay still, you idiot." The man in glasses narrowed his eyes for a better look. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" He clasped his hands behind his back, raising an eyebrow as he added Dayu Odin dot model.